What's up, bookworms? Welcome to episode 98 of the Cantina Book Club podcast, where readers can find interviews with authors of all genres. I'm Megan, self proclaimed content queen, here to bring you insights from the authors themselves. Each week features a Cantina conversation with an author. Sometimes it's a returning guest, sometimes it's someone new. But please be sure to hit that subscribe and follow button so that you never miss out on an episode. And feel free to browse through existing episodes so that you can catch a previous interview about a book you finished. I do try to be spoiler free in the interviews, but it is a little bit more enjoyable once you've read the book. So once you're finished, come back and check out the interview. It'll be ready when you are. Just a heads up that I often use adult language to express my feelings towards these authors and their work, whether the characters need to get their shit together or I'm encouraging the badass FMC to just fuck it all and burn it to the ground. So just please be mindful of listening ears. Books coming out this week or last week, August 1st, Brandishing Betrayals by M.E. Thornwood. It's a dark romance motorcycle club. It's a sequel into the Devil Psychos Motorcycle Club trilogy. And it's got some hefty spice and it's a little on the dark side, but I recommend it for anybody who likes that. And then we've got The Meaning of Murder by Walter B. Levis coming out on August 5th. As of this recording, I haven't had a chance to pick it up yet, but I'm excited to dive in, and I hope you guys are too. So if you also are looking for other bookish podcasts to listen to, head on over to Instagram and find the Book Podcast Connection. It's a group of over 100 bookish podcasts for you all who are looking for a little bit more out of your reading lists, whether they're covering a beloved series of yours, popular series, or maybe it's a book to movie adaptation. I guarantee you'll find something that you like. Today's episode features a chat with Erica Wright. We're talking about her book, Hollow Bones. That book is available now. Such a fun conversation with Erica. I loved hearing about her fascinating research into some of the content for her book, which is centered around serpent handling churches. And that is a real thing. It's a real thing. It's a real practice that some congregations take part in as part of their rituals, part of their beliefs. So it was really cool hearing about that and just going off on tangents and some stuff that she learned for her book. But without further ado, here is Erica Wright. Okay, so today we've got Erica Wright. We're talking about her book, Hollow Bones. That book is available now. Erica, thank you for joining me today. This book was like creepy and eerie, and everybody was so suspicious. And you were pulling our strings for a while up until I felt like everybody was sus, but I didn't even know what to expect by the time I got to the end. Bravo. I'm excited to dig a little bit deeper
Thank you
today.
so much, Megan. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So to get started, can you provide like a little summary of the book so that people can follow along with the
Sure,
conversation?
absolutely. So, Hollow Bones is, I often describe it as a retelling of Shakespeare's Measure for Measure, but I was thinking this afternoon, it strayed so far from the original plotline that's more inspired by that
Yeah.
play. But basically, Essa is a 20-year-old who lost both of her parents to serpent bites, snake bites during signs following services. And she's now been very much on her own, very isolated. And when the church burns down, her brother is the main suspect. So she is drawn into this improbable investigation, trying to prove her brother's innocence, not being entirely convinced of her brother's innocence. And along the way, she gets help from some other people in the town. And I think that for me, that's when the book really starts to get some momentum, is whenever she actually is interacting with more people and coming out of her own isolation.
Yeah, because she is understandably just keeping to herself, like almost like all the time, except for when she goes to do her job. And even then, she's like flat, but there's something you could tell there's more to her, even though I'm just gonna keep my head down and not cause trouble. But then unfortunately, the trouble is thrust upon
Yes,
her.
yes, absolutely.
So, can I get into your background a little bit? Because you've got a handful of published works, and I noticed there's a theme there. So, I want to talk about your writing experiences, what draws you to the genre, and did you approach this latest book the same way that you approached your other works, stuff like
Sure.
that?
We're laughing because the last few books have featured snakes, and I've promised my agent that the next one will not, and we'll see if I can stick to that promise. It's set in Florida, which has been very difficult because there are a lot of cool snakes.
That's hilarious. Not just
There's
lizards,
lizards
right? Like
and there's
other
really cool
reptiles.
snakes, but I'm trying to keep my promise for no snakes in that. Yeah, no,
No.
the book before this was a nonfiction book about snakes in as a symbol, basically. So snakes in pop culture. You think of Britney Spears dancing with banana or snakes on a plane. Snakes in pretty much every religion. Snakes are featured in some way or a symbol of typically evil, occasionally not. And one of the things I researched for that book was signs following Pentecostal churches, which are illegal in all states except for West Virginia now. But 50 years ago, were very
Mm-mm.
popular. There are thousands of them spread across the South, mostly in Appalachia. And I was very fascinated with how genuine the faith seemed. That's what surprised me the most when I was researching it. If you look at kind of contemporary services, first of all, it's difficult to find footage because people know that this is a strange practice and they don't want to be judged for it. So the ones that are open to the public, they have a performative quality. But if you look at something like the documentary Holy Ghost People, which was directed by Peter Adair, in the 1960s, it's lively and not just the snakes. The people are lively. They're playing bluegrass music. It's a diverse crowd. In that particular documentary, the sermons about it's like a civil rights sermon in favor of supporting the civil rights movement. And you're thinking, oh, this is a place I could join this congregation. And then after about an hour, they bring out these burlap sacks. Yeah, you're shaking your head. They bring out these burlap sacks and they bring
Yeah,
out
yeah.
venomous snakes. And it's all based around this one verse in the book of Mark, which says that he shall drink poison and handle dangerous snakes and shall not be harmed. And that was really fascinating to me. And that kind of just stayed on my mind after I finished this nonfiction book. And I'd had this idea of retelling measure for measure around a serpent handling church years ago, a decade ago, but I didn't really have the knowledge. I didn't really have the sensitivity, honestly, I think, to write this story. And the research gave me that ability, or at least gave me the confidence to think, let's try this, because I think there's an interesting parallel between Shakespeare's play, which is very much about genuine faith, but also abusive faith, sort of abuse of power. And I thought there's really something interesting there in these churches as well, where there's a lot of genuine faith, there's a lot of potential for abuse of power because they are so isolated.
Mm.
These communities tend to be isolated.
That's wild. Yeah, I can imagine. I don't blame you for getting
Yeah.
sucked down that rabbit hole and just being like, "Wait, what?" Is yeah, it took me a minute to like familiarize myself like for your world that you built in this situation in your story or in Essa's story. And I just felt for her because it's like she was the environment and she can't do anything about it. And then she had no control over what had happened. Even though her life was completely turned upside down. And she's still dealing with that, maybe
Mhm.
PTSD a little bit, but certainly relationships and her life like within the town, and then just trying to maintain relationships like professional and familial relationships, and even that she's finding that really
Mhm.
challenging. But yeah, when I it took me a minute to be like, that's wild that this occurs and that people take it so to heart, and they're like, "No, this is just part of it, and this is what," like, they're very committed to that, and I'm like, "That's," because I don't know, I've been to, like, reptile shows, but I'm like, I feel fine because they're in cages, they're
Very different.
and I think when I was like exactly, and I think when I did own 2, like, really
Oh,
baby
okay.
garden snakes when I was in college, but they
Yes.
kept escaping, and so I just stopped trying to
Yes.
find them, and so they were just like, "Okay, fine, be free, I hate you too." But they were like the
Yes.
super tiny ones, and it was just like, oh, they were chilling with me in my hand, but I was like, "Fine, I guess I'm just not meant to be a snake owner, whatever." But yeah, that's so interesting to me that there's so much history there. Like it's almost like a crossover. It's like wildlife, and you think the South, like West Virginia, you think, that kind of like swamp environment maybe. But yeah, going back to the snake. So it's so crazy to me how there was so much information out there and so much like history out there. Cause yeah, when I was thinking about like the South, like West Virginia, I think, oh, bayou, or the Southern, yeah, like you said, like isolated, rural, maybe swampy like climate. And so that totally fits where, like, you set the setting, and it was like the town was its own character, and how everybody, like, is responding to this new pastor that kind of took over, and that's why I also felt bad for Essa, because I could see her, like, "You could swear, don't mind my swearing, you could swear too," but she's
Yeah.
like, "What the fuck? What? Why is this new guy here? Why can't we just leave him alone?" And she's, like, avoiding him at all costs, and readers who have read the book, they know that that is futile, but yeah, I just thought it was so fascinating, but also, ooh, like, that's so crazy. That's so crazy to me that there were people who just are that committed and that reverent, that there was so much of that played a part in that history in that community.
Right, yeah, and people died on a fairly regularly, and the congregations would still continue. Yeah,
Really?
they did, yeah, and
Oh, because what, they thought, "Oh, this is how it's
right.
supposed to be," or, like, they didn't
Exactly, no
interfere,
interference, yeah,
and
exactly, Megan. So that was part of it, that if people were bitten, then help was not called. There was no medical intervention. The pastors were the ones who are more likely to get bitten because they're handling the snakes.
yeah,
And I should say that in the congregations, no one is forced to handle them. So it has to be you have to be called. You have to feel the spirit and
yeah,
then go up to do this. So that is I feel like that's important to know. It's not forced on
yeah.
any of the members of these congregations.
It's
Yeah, it's
volunteer, you're like, it's
voluntary. Yeah.
consensual, yeah, because that's wild to me too, because it's okay, I could see, like, non-venomous
Right. Yeah.
snakes being used for those type of rituals, but no, they
Yeah, deadly
deadly,
snakes.
who will, yeah, that's crazy to me. I think that's maybe where I would draw the line at trying to understand. I'm like, "But wait, they're why are you using this particular breed? Why aren't you trying to be
Right.
safe?" It's yeah, yeah, it's crazy, but like I said earlier, I could see how you were, like, just getting sucked into all your
Yeah.
research and stuff. Was there anything else that, like, you were fascinated to learn? What did you 'cause, so this book came out, like, an idea came out of you had doing for
Yes.
something else. So, was there anything new? Did you I wanna explore process as you're
Sure.
developing the story, and there's something else, "Oh, you know, maybe I gotta pull from this, or maybe I wanna look at this to see how that went or how authentic it is," and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Oh, one of the characters in the book, Juliet, who is the only character that's named for her character in the Shakespeare play. So I kept that because I thought it's a kind of a fun nod to the history of the book and the play.
Yeah,
But anyway, she reads tarot as how she makes her living, and that was not something I knew a lot about. So that was really the one of the
yeah.
main topics I had to research for this book. I took a class with a very patient instructor. I don't think I have the gift. In fact, I was the only student she would correct. So it was in
Oh,
a
no!
very supportive and gentle manner. But I'm also a teacher, so I
Yes.
know I can read the signs and I can tell. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
completely off. I have really missed this. But yeah, that was fun. But it was
This is not for
this
you,
is
and you're
not
like,
for
"I
me.
know."
I feel like as soon as it was virtual, it was during the pandemic, but as soon as I logged in, I think she
Oh,
could tell,
okay.
oh, this one doesn't have the gift. But I still learned so much. And yeah, that was absolutely fascinating to research and to think about people who do, I think, have this kind of extra ability, this intuition, but
Yeah,
also how oftentimes it's almost a form of therapy for the people who are attending, that there's this almost a dual purpose, this sort of someone they a lot of times people
yeah.
are seeking out someone who is good at this craft because they need someone to listen to them and to hear them. So that was interesting to me as well, and a space I felt more comfortable writing about because again, I do not have the gift. I don't have any extrasensory abilities. And then actually the first research I did for this book was about animal forensics because Essa works in a wildlife
Yeah.
investigation lab. And that's also absolutely fascinating. There aren't a lot. In fact, I think there's only one major lab in the US that handles all kind of animal crime. And yeah, that's a fascinating field as well that I didn't know a lot about before I started this project.
That does sound really yeah, that sounds really cool. Another rabbit
Absolutely.
hole
So many.
that you just got sucked
So
into.
this book took a
Yeah,
long time, Megan,
that's
and it
so
wasn't.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah,
And then say authors about their research where it's like the iceberg, like how much research is
right.
involved, but maybe 4 lines in the entire book relate to all the hours that you spent trying to, like, learn
Yes,
specific
yes,
things or, like, how that would play out and how it would fit into the narrative. But it's so funny because 'cause I'm like, it's all you're not alone, like, you guys are all it's such a common experience among authors who, like, because that's what they say, they're one of their favorite parts about writing a story is the research because
oh
it's
yeah,
it's cool, like, we're all you guys are all
yes,
nerds about it to an extent,
100%.
right? So you love yeah, you love getting into the topic and discovering things that, are just so niche even that it's like, "How the heck did I stumble upon this?" And then it's 4 hours later and you're like, "Oh shit, like, why did I start this again? Like,
Right.
why did I start this Google search?"
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
it's so common, yeah. Something that you said you are a teacher, like, for your, like,
I
what do you
teach
teach?
college composition courses. Yeah, English.
Okay. So how did, like, some of those skills or experiences, like, transfer into your writing career?
I feel like once I started I've been teaching for 20 years now, but I feel like there was it's a way before I was publishing, I should say. But I did realize pretty quickly that the kind of fundamental skills of writing that you want to convey to new students, new writers, are the same for where you are in your career, that you have to think about who your audience is, what is your purpose. Those sort of fundamentals really transfer whether you're working on a mystery novel or you're writing a legal brief or an email or you're applying for a job, that you can come back to these fundamentals. And sometimes when I am stuck, I'll think, what am I trying to accomplish, that maybe I've lost sight of my kind of goals for the book. And that helps me. I also think a lot of about what I like in a I feel like
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a selfish thing to say, but it takes so long to write a book that I tend to write books that I would want to read. That this is the kind of book I like. I like quirky, weird, dark books that are hopeful. So I can't for me that's my jam. And that's when I'm thinking about readers. I'm thinking about readers like me, readers who
Yeah.
like that.
But I
Yeah.
think exactly, no, but that's not selfish, it's like, if you didn't I think readers could tell if you weren't excited about what you were
Yeah.
writing. If you weren't interested about what you were writing, I feel like that shows up in this writing style, it shows up in the story. Because it's yeah, if, like, why do you want your readers to care about it if you don't care about it? If you're not excited about it, if you're not, "No, this is gonna be awesome." If you're not
Yeah.
like that and you're not interested in it, it's like, why should anybody else be? And yeah, so no, I don't think it's selfish at all. Even if it is, it's okay to be selfish
I
sometimes.
like
Like, don't
that.
worry about it. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay. I'm just at this point in my life where I'm just like, I just tell everyone, like, "Fuck it. Who cares?"
It's good advice.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you do you. Like, let's see here. Okay. So there were some, like, dark, sensitive topics and themes throughout, potentially
Mhm.
triggering
Right.
content, religious abuse of power, and that kind of, like, cult
Mhm.
adjacent vibe. That's very common. I wouldn't say very common, but that could be considered triggering to some readers. And then just familial loss and estrangement members and and then also the violent things and
Right.
endangerment, stuff like that. There's overall, there's, like, a lot there's, like, sensitive themes, so I kinda wanna explore how you
Sure.
navigated through that, just how you approached some of those things, get
Mhm.
in the zone, get yourself out of the zone, taking care of yourself as you're writing, all that all that good
Sure.
stuff.
I did find there's a most of all of the animal abuse takes place off the page, but you see some of the snakes who have been abused. I found that incredibly difficult to write. Again, particularly after my last book, which was a nonfiction book, as I said, about snakes, and the the what that book turned into was not necessarily where it started, was this idea of why are we afraid of anything, and what does that fear do to us? How does that fear make us act in ways that are violent or are illogical, right? So people screaming and running from a gray rat snake, for example, that it's not going to hurt you. And no judgment there. I'm someone who is naturally afraid of snakes as well. And there's even some pretty convincing theories that there might be an innate fear of snakes, that it's something that we're born with. So no judgment with the fear of snakes, but it is irrational. Approximately 7 people die of snake bites in the US per year, and almost all of those are from
Yeah.
people trying to kill or handle the snake. If you leave them alone, basically they leave you alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, in other parts of the
Yeah,
world, it's a different story. But here in the U.S., there's not really a reason to fear snakes. So that's what that nonfiction book came to be about, and it really changed me in fundamental ways. So then to move from that project to a book that has this animal abuse was maybe not the most sensible step on my part, because I did find it very difficult because I developed so much sympathy for this animal. So
sure.
that was definitely the hardest part for the book in terms of writing. I will say that I was working on the what I thought of as the final draft and turned out to be certainly not. But I it was 2020, so height of the pandemic. I was pregnant. I had HG, so I was very sick,
Same.
and
Oh,
that draft was very dark. So that draft, I didn't. It wasn't intentional. Just the way that it was manifesting on the page. Yeah.
something, yeah,
I
something
was
you were
going
going
through it,
through
so I
it.
was
You were
putting them on the page. And then I was revising substantially after I had my little one. I was thankfully feeling better. And I went back to this idea that I don't like to read books that are this hopeless. I didn't want Essa to be in this dark of a place. I didn't want to leave her in that dark of a place. So I
sure.
revised with this eye towards lightening the content. And that turned out to be that was a fun revision. Usually revisions are not necessarily fun, but to think about, okay, I want to make this fit the mold of books that I like to read. I'm going to lighten it up. I'm going to give
Yeah.
Essa more agency. I'm going to give her more power, which was fun. I introduced a ghost, very fun, flamboyant ghost.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's how I managed the dark material in the book.
Yeah, that's cool because that could be, like, a little bit maybe a little therapeutic because it's obviously something's there and maybe there's, like, a story to be played with, but ultimately, the first it's I tell authors that, like, I've heard, "Okay, the first draft, it's the perfect first draft, so just get it out." It doesn't care if it sucks, don't get yourself stuck on finishing a project that you know you're gonna go back and
Right.
look through again and or have other people look at again, and it's but it's so true because that's so common, and I love that you found the silver lining in okay, like, you desensitized, but
Yes.
almost. You just pushed through it, and you were able to just keep reading, and, like, you went there, and then you went back, and you're like, "Okay, this is how I'm gonna handle this," and, yeah, I like, "No, that's good, whatever you have to do." I ask authors that too when it's, potentially triggering content. It's like you have to get in the zone, and you have to cut in that story, in that world, in the moment, and it can get heavy, like, some of these themes that are just that resonate with humans, with the human experience as dark or even if it's I can't relate to these characters per se, but it's something to be said about them going through that and, like, feeling that empathy and exploring that
Hmm.
situation and that environment and kind of it makes you think, "Oh, yeah, I don't know what I would do in that situation." And, yeah, that sucks. That's a horrible thing to happen to
Hmm.
these people, and, um yeah, it was just like, I that's really cool that you found a way to let's just okay, I'm just gonna do it. You're like, just gonna do it. It is what it is. Because sometimes sometimes it's just all you can do.
I love that word desensitized. I've never thought about it before, but you're exactly right. Yeah, that sort of dark draft made it easier to revise because I knew it was going to get darker than that because I was intentionally
Yeah.
making it lighter. So I'd already whatever I had written that was going to be as dark as it was. I was willing to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's a word that some people I think it
Hmm.
more exposure, and I think it's they don't really realize that it's happening to them, even though it's like they're exposed they know that they're exposed to these certain situations that could be potentially triggering, but it's yeah, like, the more exposure the less sensitive they are to it, the more
Hmm.
they can handle it, and or just not necessarily it gets easier, but you get better at it. If that
Yes.
makes sense. It's, "No, this still is hard, but you have on it now, and you know what to expect," exactly how you were saying. Okay, you touched on this actually. Anything stand out to you as the most challenging and most enjoyable parts to write besides what you just shared about kinda like your process?
Most enjoyable was when I introduced the character of Merit. So this book's called
Mm,
in more or less three point of views. There's a bit from the villain, let's call him. I think it's pretty obvious from the opening, but more or less it's from the three point of views, three women. And but at one point, I think I had six. I just kept putting these point of views in. I had a lot of characters to draw from the original Shakespeare play, which is one of my favorites, and I just kept writing, and it wasn't clicking together. I couldn't get it to click. And then finally, I realized I had this character in the opening scene. I had this reporter character that we never hear from again, Merritt Callahan. And I thought, what would happen if you had someone who is not from this town? So this idea
Yeah.
of it's such an
Yeah.
isolated town. Everyone knows everyone. Everybody knows everyone's business, like where I grew up.
Yep.
And thought,
Yep.
I think that's what this needs. It needs a character who doesn't care as much. It needs a character who doesn't really care about these people. For her, they're a story, at least at first. And when I started writing her point of view, it was so fun to write this character who did not have as much invested in the town, but was instead acting for her own ambitions. And she had her own goals. And that was it. The three characters finally clicked together. And for me, when they finally start working together, it felt a little like a kind of a superhero tale. So this is not a superhero book, but it felt like the end of Buffy or something when the characters start working together. And I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
No wonder people like to
Yeah,
write these superhero characters
that's
because
awesome.
they're fun to write when it starts working.
Yeah. Yeah, especially it's like a little pleasant surprise. You're
Yeah.
like it clicks. You're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, wait." Yeah, that's awesome. That's hilarious. I did like Merritt because yeah, it was like she was yeah, she was ambitious and she was outside
Yes.
of and exactly, she had no investment into these people's lives. It almost like to the point of maybe being a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
minute and just straight up shifting the pieces to however she wants to play them, and yeah, it was just I just liked her character even though it was something to be said about those nefarious, like, intentions, but I just still liked her. I was like,
Yeah.
"Go get it. Go
Yeah.
figure it out. Go catch him." Like, go like
Yeah.
it was like, you're like, what a because she it was almost like for the reader, at least from my point of view, it was like she was almost like the voice of
Yes.
reason and kind of the voice of
Yes.
confidence and the voice of ambition of, "Hold on a second, because otherwise it's I like Juliet, but she's also, like, dealing with her own she's a little kooky, but she's unapologetic about it, and I'm have my own money, and because she did some questionable things
Sure.
too to get where she is." And I also was like, I was like, but I don't hate her for it. I was just like, nah, I guess I get it. And then yeah, Essa, obviously, but she was also just, she was very much like I said before, she's putting her head down, staying out of people's way, just minding her own business. So she wasn't necessarily until things are thrust upon her and she has no choice but to deal
Right.
with certain things. And but it's that the plot, some of the plot, like some pieces had to be moved for her
Mhm.
to propel her into action. Where Merritt was like, no, something there's something that could be done here. Something's not right here. Or she's looking at it, yeah, like from her career, she's I this could there could be and that's exactly, but she needed to do that. She needed the town needed that. The town needed
Yeah.
someone who's gonna be like, does nobody else think this is like weird? Like what?
Right.
It's yeah, there's little stuff that like is for a dark book. It's like the little kind of ironic and funny moments. I just it's finding the fun, the humor in it because it's like, yeah, Merritt, like she's got a good point. What do you hope readers get out of
Hmm.
Hollow Bones?
I think it might be related to what we're talking about, this idea of Merit making her own way and not waiting for permission, not waiting for until, she's backed into a corner. What was interesting to me about Essay, so Essay is based on this character Isabella from Shakespeare's play Measure for Measure. And Isabella at the start of the play is on the cusp of joining a convent. It's the night before she is to join a convent, and someone comes to her and says, your brother has been sentenced to die for impregnating his girlfriend. Can you please come beg for mercy? And she does. She goes and she begs for mercy. And instead of pardoning her brother, the man in charge says, I will pardon him if you sleep with me. So it's this real awful kind of quid pro quo. And Isabella is left really in a really vulnerable position. If it had been 24 hours later and she had been part of the convent, she would have had the protection of her fellow sisters and all of this. Her only family is her brother, who has been arrested and is sentenced to die. So she's very much alone. In the whole play, she is trying with her very limited resources to save her brother and save herself, because she believes that if she goes through with this, she'll be condemned to hell for all of eternity. So the stakes are very high for her. What I enjoyed about when I had the chance to work with this character, she's in a similar position at the beginning. She doesn't really have any protections. She doesn't really have anyone who would be willing to stick their neck out for her. But what was different in my version, and what was fun to play with, was that she does eventually get some allies, that she eventually has people who can help her. And even the kind of small character of Charlene, who owns a local bar, even Charlene just telling her, oh, hey, girl, you're right and they're wrong. Even that kind of validation makes a difference for her. And she realizes that, oh, maybe I can take down this powerful man. Even though I don't have power myself, maybe I can find it. And maybe these other people can help me. So it almost goes back to this question of what was fun to write. That was fun to write. It was fun to reimagine one of my favorite characters and just give her a little more agency, just give her a little more power and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true because it really was like she knew like deep down she had a
Hmm.
sense of right and wrong, even if she didn't have a whole lot of um she wasn't super religious, but she like almost resented the religion because it just for the incident that happened and she was just like she had to still deal with that like symbolism of it being revived by this
Hmm.
new pastor and stuff like that. And yeah, like as soon as like, she still knew what he's asking me is
Right.
this is not right. And but she was, like, so conflicted because of the
Hmm.
stipulation, and even then, like, her brother I don't think this is too spoilery, but her brother was like, "You got right? Like, you're gonna"
Yeah.
and she's just, "What?" Like, and it was just like, "Oh, man." Like, because but that's when she really steps
Hmm.
up for herself. Like, she sticks a like, she's in this situation that she's not 'cause she's out of her element, and she's following everybody else's lead on it until, oh, the power is in her hands, and she can
Right.
make a choice. And that's when um, she steps out and almost like a leap
Hmm.
of growth where she's like, "Wait a second, no, I don't owe anything to anybody. This
Yeah.
dude's what is" and yeah, absolutely. It was a turning point where she was like and I love
Yeah.
Charlene. I loved Charlene, even though she's like such a small minor character. It was like, yeah, I would want her in
Yeah,
my corner
absolutely.
for sure because it's just she was just like unapologetic. She's no, what do you like? Okay, she's something's wrong with that man. Don't even do that to you. Which and she, it was perfect. It was just like at the voice of reason and even though she was, like, part of the town, she's a local, "These people are messed up, don't" she knows these people are messed up, and she's just, "No, like, put your foot down, don't let anybody do that to you," and I was like, "Yes." I was like,
Yes.
"Yes, Charlene, thank you," like, 'cause she yeah, 'cause Essa, she was slowly growing as a character and slowly getting that confidence and that reassurance and, like you said, the validation where it's just, "No, like, your intuition is right, and this is" yeah, that I love that. I was like parts where she started getting it was getting exciting, but it was all, like, in the last act, right? Where it was just like, "Ok they're getting closer, they're closing in, and, okay, never mind, I don't know shit about what's going on 'cause I thought I knew, and then I was like, 'No, just kidding. Okay, I'm just gonna go along for the ride. I'm not gonna guess or have anything because it's never mind.'" I was like, "Okay, okay, never mind. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna throw this at you. What advice do you have for Essa, what advice do you have for Juliet? What advice do you have for
Oh,
Merritt?
that's fun. That's a really fun. Those are fun questions. Intentionally left Essa in a positive place. I knew at the beginning, even in my darkest draft, even when I was not feeling well myself, I knew I was going to leave Essa in a place where she was stronger and had connections, had some sort. And so I think for Essa, I think what my advice would be that to believe in herself because I think she has so much more potential than what other people have seen in her. I know actually when I had beta
Mhm.
readers on some early drafts, they were asking about, I feel like there was a stray comment about her not being very bright. And I thought, oh no, S is bright. S
Mm.
is bright. So this was not the beta reader's fault. That was my fault. So I went back and revised towards it because S is very smart and has not been given a chance because people don't see her. They would see her as the serpent orphan, which is her nickname in the town. So I think she's only 20 at the end of this book. She's got so much potential. So that would be my advice to Essa is that you can do anything from here. You can do whatever you want to, whatever your biggest dreams are that you can do.
Yeah.
Merritt doesn't need help with that. Merritt has extremely big dreams. So my advice to her would just be maybe to make sure she's not burning every bridge she comes across. They don't all have to be burned. You can probably leave some.
Yeah.
Juliet's just had a baby, so I think that she probably doesn't want any advice. She
Yeah.
doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to hear it for anybody.
She's "No, I have the
The
gift. The
cards are
cards are
telling me what
telling
I
me
need
what
to
I
hear.
need. It's
No, yeah.
okay."
And also, I'm tired of advice.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny, it's true. That's hilarious. I like asking authors that because then it's if they took my advice, there'd be no book. So I'm gonna just like, yes, where you leave them off at, what's propelling them going forward? What do you hope if but yeah, that's so true. Juliet, new mom, she's
I don't
I
have
don't
time
have
for
time for this. Don't
this.
It's yeah, or it's just yeah, like, or she's got maybe some supernatural things going on to that I don't know, she was such a
Yeah.
kooky person, and, like, all of them were, though, even, like, when it's so what I liked was that you find out more about characters' personalities through how I perceive them, and that was, like, people saying, "Essa, she's a little kooky, but she's alright, she's got a good head on her shoulders," and then, like, other people saying she makes Essa makes her own about Juliet. I don't think she should be charging for some of that stuff, blah, 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 or she seems like she's exploiting people, but they're still coming to her, they're still paying, so it's so stuff like that where it was cool, and then just Merritt just has an opinion about everybody, but she so I just thought it was fun how yeah, I like to see through other characters' POVs, you get that it's like a little gift to the reader, it's like you get, "Okay, now we get to really think what people think of
Mhm.
this person or what people think of this person," and that's where, like, towards the end, when you get more of Juliet's kind of more we learn the truth about what she's thinking
Mhm.
of people, and, it was a little surprising. So it was like, yeah, like, she's a little kooky, and I don't know if I would ever be her friend, but I was like, she doesn't seem to really be bothering anybody until then you get to a part where, like, the reader starts to understand the chain of
Mhm.
events and what everybody's involvement is, like, the truth of it and, like, their motives and all that stuff, so, yeah, there was, like, a point where I was, like I wasn't sure I flip-flopped a little bit because I was like, "No, this character's easy and okay and quirky," but then I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Oh, learning more about them, maybe not so much," but that's you try to add more dimensions to, like, your characters and stuff like that, where you gotta lead the reader in so that you keep us on our toes. Because like I said, I was like, when I got to a certain point, I was like, "Okay, I'm just, like, along for the ride because I don't know. Anything I thought I was onto, I'm not."
I think that's
Um,
why I find
so
sorry, I
yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt, but I think that's why I find the
No,
question
go for it,
about
yeah.
unlikable characters to be such an odd one, because there's a huge difference between people that you would be friends with in real life versus liking them on the page. I feel like most of my
Yeah.
favorite characters are in real life would be awful. I would if I saw them on the subway or
Yes.
I saw them at the grocery store, I would bury my head in a book and turn the other way.
Y
But in the books, I wanna read more. I want more and more of them. So that's why I always find that question odd because I don't know who's reading books to because they wanna
they make it
yeah, they want that
yeah,
cozy
exactly,
feeling.
it's like that's why you get to interact with them at a
Yes,
safe
exactly. There's
distance,
always that
like, you know?
distance. Even a really good villain is fun, right? If somebody really pulls off a great villain, you're like, "Oh, I wish I had thought of that."
Yeah. Yeah. I know, I think that's what I tell authors too, like, even the scumbags, the slimy characters, the messy characters, like, I still appreciated for what they brought to the story because I'm just the type of person where I love it when things get messy. I'm like and I love it when authors put their characters through unfamiliar and uncomfortable situations because like you can come across like the most ruthless like broody person whether whatever genre it is but then you put them in a situation where they're so out of their element. I love
Yeah,
it. I love watching it. I love seeing like them being thrown for a loop their feathers like I that's it's hilarious to me and it adds to the entertainment value for sure. I love it. It's so fun.
absolutely.
I'm just like
More
chaos, the more
chaos, the
chaos, the
better.
better. The more messiness, the better. Yeah. Okay, what was I gonna ask? So what kind of things are you doing, like, for yourself right now? Are there any books that you could recommend? Are there any, like, any activities that you're doing just, like, in your personal life to keep yourself going so that you can professionally keep doing what you're doing. And it might be like an oddly worded question, but I'm just kind of book recommendations, anything you're doing to take care of yourself, stuff
No,
like
I
that.
think it's a good question to ask. I just read a book I just thought was terrific, and it was widely popular. I usually like to recommend books that are a little bit under the radar, but I was so blown away by Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I just
Okay.
finished it a couple days
Yeah.
ago and just thought it was, speaking of risky and chaotic, it was a book that was just taking some wild risks, some of which I can't say because it would be spoilers for the third act. But I don't think this is a spoiler. There's a whole sequence that's written as if it is part of a video game, a part of a early 2000s style like online player game. And what a wild choice. And I was just so delighted by the risk of it. And then it works somehow. That is what I most recently read. So I need something that will knock my socks off. In general, I think I'm like you, Megan. I've really found myself drawn lately to books that are maybe flawed but ambitious. That if there's something about, if the author's taking risks and they're doing something interesting, I'm going to be much more into that book than I am with something that's not really taking any risk, but it's, the plot is perfectly symmetrical and the writing is lovely. I just want something that's a little messy and it's just trying something interesting. And I also, I can recommend this because I feel like it's probably hasn't gotten as much attention. Julia Elliott's new short story collection, Hellions, to me is doing that. It's all these kind of Southern grotesque short stories that every one, it's just wild. It's so wild that I would laugh at times because I just thought,
Mm.
this is a delight. This is so strange and yeah, just big. These were authors who were just going big. So that's what I've been reading. Yeah.
That's cool.
And in terms of hobbies, I
Yeah.
don't have any. I don't have time. I don't have
You
time.
just
I
teach
teach and
and
write.
write and
I
research
research.
and
So when I was researching snakes, I had all sorts of
and read.
fun things to share, but now not much. Not much. I like
You're like, "What do I do with my
I'm
life? I'm
done with
done
the
with the
snakes.
snake." It's funny, you do good like, sometimes people but I'm guilty of this too, and I'm not, like, a writer or anything, where you fall into something, and it just becomes, like, your whole personality for a hot second,
It's
and you're just
true.
like, you gotta well, like, you can't let it go, and then you're, like, so excited about it, and then you wanna maybe it'll bleed into your public, like, life where you're, like, talking about it. "Oh, did you guys see what something I learned today?" And it's like,
No
"What?"
more about rattlesnake. I feel like there was
Like,
a time
"What?"
my friends were just like, "We're
Yeah.
just trying to relax." This is pre-Arthur, so it's, "We're just trying to have a drink. Can we
Right.
just stop talking about rattlesnake venom?" Like, and how what the paralysis it causes. Like, I don't have anything else, guys.
I know, right? It's like there's a certain extent where you're like, "Okay, I'm cutting you
Yeah,
off."
I think your friends have to intervene
Like,
maybe.
that's a like, I got an irrational fear now with
Yeah.
things, like, what but
Uh,
that's so wild to me, like, what it reminded me of, yeah, what you were saying earlier, how death by snakes are so
yes.
yet it's that's they're still
Yeah.
scary, and I don't know if it's just the
Movement, yeah.
movements or the unfamiliarity that people have, but it's spiders. I have to be the big girl and tell my
Yes.
sons. Like, the worst was when, like, I think I was, like, putting them to bed, and they found a
Oh,
spider on their
uh-huh.
ceiling, and my husband wasn't home. I think he was, like, out for the night, and I was just like I was like, "Is it gonna really bother you if it's there?" And they're like, "Yes, mom." I was like, "Damn it," because I was like, "Yes," and that's such a cruel question because, of course, I'm like, "These
Right.
are my babies. Of course it would bother me. It should bother me that it's in
Yeah.
there with them," and I'm like, "Oh, okay," and I had to put my big girl pants on and take care of the spider, but it's just exactly saying to my kids the same thing, like, they're more afraid of you than
Right.
you are of them. You're bigger. They can be helpful.
Yes,
They're eating the
exactly.
bugs.
Yes.
And I'm like trying to spew all that shit so that to like assuage their fear or their because they're frightened. But I'm also like, yeah, I don't want them here either.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Yep.
want to touch them. I don't want to. But no, it's like even seeing a picture of a spider, like
Mhm.
almost. It's like kind of like it's just the sight of it, even though they're it could be another what or
Oh, yeah.
whatever. Have such little
Yes.
interest in
Yeah.
you other than, "Are you gonna kill me?" It's yeah,
Yes.
they really it's so crazy to me. No, yeah, that stuff like that reminds me of where no, statistically, yeah, like deaths by snake in the US are so rare, but we still, like, get that out of it. We still are kinda like, "Stay away," or "Don't touch me," or "Run
Run
away."
away,
Like,
yeah.
what don't mess with it. Don't mess with it. I don't know, I'm just not gonna come close to that
She
until she
does.
does. I'm like until she does, but I don't, that's for her,
That's
that's
her
good for
journey.
her to
That's
read,
Essa's
and
journey.
yes, exactly. Okay, so what is next for you? Are you working on anything that you are allowed to
Sure.
talk
Yeah.
about?
I just finished writing a new mystery novel that I intentionally leaned into a more fun, kind of lighthearted tone because of after this book. But it's still quirky. It is called, the working title is The Museum of Unusual Occurrence. It's set in a fictionalized version of Cassadaga, Florida, which is known as the psychic capital of the world. Speaking of quirky places, it's this town in Florida where you have to be a certified psychic in order to live within the bounds of this town. My rules in my fictionalized version are a little bit looser. The main character has inherited a museum of oddities, and she is a non-believer. She's not superstitious. She's very practical, but she opens the museum one morning and she finds a dead body in one of her display cases with no signs of forced entry, no clue as to how this person has arrived there. So she has to get involved in the town more than she would like to. And yeah, the mystery proceeds from there.
That sounds really cool and interesting, and yeah, I feel like
Right.
like,
That's the appropriate reaction.
that was just I'd be like, "I'm quitting
I'm
my
quitting
job.
my
Who else
job.
wants
Yeah.
to own this?" I'd be like, "I'm wiping my hands of this. I had you guys, this is your
Yes.
problem now. This is no
Yes.
longer." Yeah, I would be
Oh,
such a
me
boring
too.
character.
Yeah.
I'm
I
like
say this all the time that, yeah, I could never be a character in a Mr. Murder mystery. All these amateur investigators,
mm-mm.
absolutely not. No. If there was a
Yeah.
murder in the local
No, I'm like,
bakery,
I mind my own
we'll let the police deal with
right.
that. Yeah.
Exactly,
Go
I
mind my
mind
own
my own
business.
business, and, like, I wouldn't like, I would be the one giving up all the information too. "Oh, someone came. Oh, can I be an amateur sleuth? Like, I have this information that the police don't. Maybe these people will talk to me, they won't talk to police." I would be like, "I'm not."
No.
I would be like, "No, here,
No.
talk to this person." I would, like, not yeah, I'd be
I
like, I'm not touching
You
that."
just made me remember this deep memory, Megan, from when I was about 21 or 22. I was living in New York City. I was out one night walking a friend home, and a police officer approached me and said, "We have just arrested someone, and we need people to be in the lineup, and you're the right age and size. I don't know what the criteria were. Could you please help us out?" It pays, I don't even know, paid a little bit of money. I was like, absolutely not. This is how I've seen this movie. I'm going to be identified in this lineup. That's going to be the end of my freedom.
Oh, that is so
Yeah.
wild. Yeah, like, that almost seems, "No, I'm not gonna get with
Yes.
you,
Yeah.
stranger." Like,
It
I'm
was in front of the police
like, that seems
precinct. But there was some validity to the request. But yeah, I was like, oh no,
that's
absolutely not.
hilarious because no, I'd be like, "Why? Go find another,
There's a lot of 22-year-olds
young
in
white
New
woman."
York.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. That's oh my goodness. That I had no idea that stuff like I guess it makes sense because, maybe if you're a victim and you're looking at a lineup, you could see definitely not them, like,
Hopefully that's
versus
what they say.
seeing the person. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, that's why you're like, "I'm not
No.
touching that."
That's why
Like,
I'm
"No,
not a character. I
I am
feel like
not
if it were a
involved."
book, that person would have been like, "Yes, I could use the money. I'll go do that." I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, no."
yeah. That could be another character idea, but, like, what and just imagining what you would have done had you said
Right.
yes or in the wildest circumstances where you yeah, like, yeah,
It was hard
it
to
was her,
believe.
you're like, "No, what?" Yeah. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. Erica Wright, where can we find you online and on social
I have a
media?
website, ericawright.org, and I mainly use Instagram, and my handle is Erica Wright Writes. I'm pretty sure that's right. Erica Wright Writes.
Yeah. I'll make sure to include all the links and all that stuff in the show notes, but to just share that you're most active on Instagram for sure. Okay, so Erica Wright, Hollow Bones, that book is available now. Thank you so much for your authenticity and your generous answers and for listening to me ramble on a little bit and just sharing all the cool stuff you learned and all your funny, weird, crazy experiences while just through this whole process of both leading up to the book and the book itself. Yeah, if and when you are releasing another title, the title that you're working on, feel free to reach out
This was
again. I'd love
lovely,
to chat.
Megan. Thank you so much.
And there you go. That was Erica Wright talking about her book, Hello Bones. That book is available now. Check out the show notes where you can find links to purchase the book and where to find Erica online and on social media. Rate, review, subscribe. Find Cantina Book Club online and on social media as well, especially if you're looking to keep up with the podcasts on your favorite podcast player. Hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. And leave a rating or review if you can. It'll help Cantina Book Club reach ears like fellow bookworms like you. And if you do need book recommendations, check out cantinabookclub.com. Whatever genre you're looking for, I have something to recommend for you. One of the easiest ways that you can support your favorite authors and their work is to head on over to Goodreads and Amazon or wherever you find your next reading recommendation and to leave them and their title a rating and review. It helps them out so much. And it's one of the easiest ways to do besides purchasing the book. And as always, thank you guys so much for listening.